We're all looking for that feeling of satisfaction, right? But what if I told you the real cure for a complaining heart isn't found in getting what we want, but in an ancient story about bitter water and, believe it or not, bread from heaven? So, let me ask you something. If you saw a real, honest-to-goodness, life-changing miracle, how long would that feeling, that thrill, last for you? A year? Maybe a month? What about a week? Well, for the ancient Israelites who had just experienced one of the biggest miracles in all of history, the answer is kind of shocking. The thrill lasted for about 3 days. That's it, 3. Okay, so let's dig into this 3-day miracle expiration. We're going to follow the Israelites' journey right after their greatest triumph, and you'll see just how fast a victory parade can turn into a pity party. So picture this, okay? Day 0. They literally walk through the Red Sea on dry land while their enemies are completely wiped out. I mean, talk about a massive miracle. The next couple of days, they're on a high, marching, singing praises. But then on day 3, they hit a wall. They get to this place called Mara, and the water's bitter. It's totally undrinkable. And just like that, poof, the memory of that Red Sea miracle just vanishes and the complaining starts.
Their first instinct wasn't to pray or to remember the God who just split a sea for them. Nope, it was to turn on Moses and complain, "What are we supposed to drink?" In that one moment, they completely forgot that the God powerful enough to control an entire sea could probably handle a little bad water. Their focus just snapped from his incredible power to their immediate problem.
And this gets to the heart of why a complaining spirit is so destructive, and I think we can all relate to this. First off, it's basically a vote of no confidence in God's ability to care for us. Second, complaining is like putting a magnifying glass on your problems. It just makes everything feel bigger and worse than it really is. And finally, all that energy you spend complaining, it's energy you could have been using to, actually find a solution. But here's the amazing part. God's response to their grumbling isn't a lightning bolt. It's provision. He tells Moses to throw a piece of wood into the water, and just like that, the bitter water turns sweet. And it's right here that God reveals a new name for himself, Jehovah Rapha, the Lord who heals. His healing isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about providing what's needed to make us whole. So you'd think, okay, problem solved, lesson learned, right? Well, not exactly. Solving their thirst didn't fix the deeper issue in their hearts. As we'll see, after a short break at a nice oasis, it didn't take long for a new problem and a whole new round of complaints to pop up.
This time, it was food. They started complaining to Moses all over again, saying things like, "It would have been better to die as slaves in Egypt with full bellies than to be out here, free but hungry." It's just wild, isn't it? As soon as one need is met, another one pops right up.
And this brings us to this really powerful metaphor of the human heart as a bottomless pit. You can toss anything you want in there, money, success, relationships, experiences, but it never ever gets full. The second you satisfy one desire, another one starts yelling for its turn.
And yet again, you've got to see the grace here. Despite their constant complaining, God's response is, once again, provision. He tells Moses he's about to do something incredible. He's going to literally rain bread down from heaven for them.
And the story behind the name of this food is actually pretty funny. When the Israelites woke up and saw this stuff on the ground, they just looked at each other and said, "Manhu," which literally means, "What is it?" And the name just stuck. So this mysterious food, which tasted like wafers with honey, became known as manna.
Now, this heavenly food came with some very specific rules. And it wasn't just about feeding them, it was about teaching them to trust. For the first 5 days of the week, they were only supposed to gather enough for that one day. If anybody got greedy and tried to hoard it, they'd wake up to find it rotten and full of worms. But on the 6th day, they were to gather a double portion, and miraculously, it would stay fresh for the Sabbath, the day of rest, when no manna would appear. It was this perfect system designed to teach them about daily trust, sufficiency, and the importance of rest.
Okay, but here's the real key to this whole story. This incredible provision of manna. It wasn't ultimately about physical food. It was a giant flashing arrow pointing to a much deeper, much more important spiritual truth.
Let's break it down. Manna was physical bread from heaven that kept them alive for a little while. But Jesus called himself the true bread from heaven, the spiritual food that gives eternal life. Manna was a gift for one nation in the desert for a time. Jesus is God's gift for the entire world, for all time. The daily bread was just a shadow. Jesus is the real thing it was always pointing to. And just think about this for a second. God didn't provide manna because the Israelites were so good and faithful. He gave it to them while they were actively complaining and distrusting him.
And it's the exact same way with us. God's greatest gift, Jesus, wasn't something we earned. The Bible makes it so clear. It was while we were still sinners, stuck in our own complaints, that Christ died for us. It's a gift born out of pure, unconditional love.
So, just like the Israelites had to get up every single morning and physically go out and gather that manna to live, we're invited to receive eternal life through a simple act of faith. Believing in Jesus, that's how we gather the true bread that satisfies our deepest spiritual hunger, not just for a day, but forever.
So what on earth does this ancient story about desert wanderers have to do with you and me today, right now? How do we break the cycle of complaining and finally find that real, lasting satisfaction we're all looking for?
Well, the story gives us a pretty clear roadmap with 2 simple steps. First, remember. You have to actively choose to remember that every good thing in your life is a gift from the God who is willing to give his own Son for you. If he can be trusted with your eternity, he can probably be trusted with your daily problems. And second, pray. Instead of just letting those complaints spin around in your head, turn them into prayers. Ask God to give you a heart of gratitude, to help you find satisfaction in him alone.
And at the end of the day, this is the ultimate promise. True contentment isn't about getting everything we want. It's about realizing we already have the one thing we truly need, God's presence. He has promised, "I will never leave you, I will never forsake you." His presence is the only thing that can ever truly fill that bottomless pit in our hearts.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What have you been trying to fill your bottomless pit with? And more importantly, is it working?
Thanks so much for joining me. You know, your subscriptions, likes, and comments really are a huge encouragement to our whole production team. We'll see you next time.